Well, hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. I hope everybody's Saturday is going well, and welcome to another great episode of The Color of Motion. And I'm laughing, excuse me, B and the guests were having a good laugh before the broadcast there. How's everybody doing? Like I said, I hope everybody is doing well. And I want to thank you for joining me, Don Terrell, for another episode of The Color of Motion live on my Facebook, YouTube, and link. Make sure I'm pointing right. Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn page. You know the drill. Please say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from while I quickly do the homework of making sure that I am broadcasting live. We are literally, I hate broadcasting live because my system really wants to kind of drag there. But let me know where you're tuning in from. Of course, say hello so I can give you a nice shout out there. Again, I'm making sure that I am live. All the channels are live. Let me see. Wow, this is my computer's really acting janky. So excuse me. It is going really slow. Miss Elizabeth, appreciate you tuning in from Pittsburgh, tuning in from LinkedIn. Hello from, I know it's cold up there right about now. From Pittsburgh, I thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm just making sure, uh, Mr. Lamar, thank you for tuning in. This is Mr. Marty. Marty! Oh, man. Marty from hometown, like my next door neighbor growing up down the street. I was like, Lamar Johnson. And he said, Marty, what's going on, my man? Hopefully everything is going well with you. Yeah, my neighbor growing up uh, right down the street, or actually right next door for a while. And then we moved a couple of houses down. So after a while. So my neighbor on my block there. Appreciate you tuning in there, Marty. Okay, I am broadcasting live on LinkedIn. Make sure my YouTube is going good. Long time. Yeah, it has been a while, Marty. It's been a long while for sure. Everybody, please make sure that you jump over to my YouTube page and subscribe to my YouTube page where you can check out past broadcasts of the show. Also, you'll be able to check out first season of Ozil and I's Talking Creative. Plus, I'll have other great content. I'm planning on putting other great content on there. So I want to make sure that you are connected with me on my YouTube page because I'm going to be doing a lot of other content specifically for the my YouTube channel. Some tutorials, software tutorials, maybe bringing on a guest or two to do some software training there as well. Okay, I'm almost ready to go. I'm checking out YouTube and we'll be ready to rock and roll. But again, make sure that you are saying hello uh, because I always, like I said, like to give people a shout out on the show. Again, Don Terrell here, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Color of Motion. Man, can you believe it's already the 15th? We are halfway through the month of January already in 2021. So that's a signal that this year is going to fly by really, really quickly. It's going by, January is already going by so fast for sure. Okay, we are good to go. And I am excited. What are you doing? I'm doing my graphics there, Mr. Marty, as always. Appreciate you. As you can see, I got my show going. This is the Color of Motion every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Color of Motion, where great stories come in all shades. And that is the purpose of this show, where I highlight people of color, Black and brown people, and from diverse backgrounds in the field of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. And as you know, this year has gotten off to a great start. We've had a lot of great guests on to start off the year, and I'm excited about uh, the future ones coming on. I know you will be too. All right, we are good to go. And okay, we are good to go. All right, is everybody ready to jump into this great episode here? Like I said, we were having a lot of laughs before the show, before we jumped on the show. So I'm expecting a good, fun conversation here. Mr. Paul here has a love for people and everyone's unique story, which feeds perfectly into his career as an illustrator and character designer. Born on the beautiful island of St. Lucia and raised in St. Thomas, which there are great, beautiful islands. I did have a chance to go visit there. In the United States Virgin Islands, Robert's ultimate calling is to help children lead fun, positive, and enriched lives through storytelling. He lives with his wife and newborn daughter, so he's not been getting a lot of rest lately. Here in Houston, Texas, and as a couple, they enjoy mentoring children and teens, experiencing ballet performances, and discovering delicious new recipes and restaurants. I want everybody to give a warm, warm welcome to my very special guest, Mr. Robert Paul Jr., my friend. Come on there, Mr. Robert. Oh, we're having a little technical
Hey,
difficulty.
how's it
Like I
going?
said, Mr. Robert, what's going on there?
Everything's great. Everything's going pretty well.
All right, all right. Well, I'm so excited to have you on there for
Thanks
sure.
for having me.
Mr. Marty, I'm in Houston, Texas. We are both in Houston, Texas. Where are you from? You know where I'm from, Marty. I'm from Kentucky, where you live. But I'm but I'm in Houston, Texas here. We are in hot Houston, Texas, and we are ready to dive into this. Like I said, I've been we've been working, trying to get together. We met, and we were just talking about this beforehand. 4 years ago, Robert and I got connected at a animators meetup group, and just connected and stayed friends. And it's been a minute trying to get him on the show for sure. So I'm excited about your yeah, Mr. Robert. Born in St. Lucia and St. Thomas. So were you raised there, or did you move from here when you were young?
So I was born in St. Lucia originally. So I wasn't American when I was originally like when I was born, but I moved from St. Lucia at the age of 1.5, 2. Then I moved to the Virgin Islands, and then as I lived in the Virgin Islands for a while, I went through all of my schooling there, um, and then I went to college in Savannah after. But yeah, that's basically how it was. I was born and raised in the islands, and then as an adult is really when I came to the U.S. So it's a little different, but at the same time, there's still the similarities because of the there's the mainland uh, influences in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, there's kind of a flair. You know, there's more. There's so one of the funny things is this is kind of an inside thing, but um, some of the restaurants, like you'll see like a KFC or like one of those like it's like you'll have things there that you don't find in the US because it's like you'll have like I remember when I was a teenager, I went to a Wendy's once for breakfast and like not once, but I used to go quite often as a teenager
Yeah.
and like there was this breakfast burrito with like fresh potatoes and like all this
So
like
you are,
onions, green peppers. And I'm like, where did this even come from? This is not on the menu. It's like I asked them what's for breakfast, and they just like I don't know if that's still there, but man, like stuff like that would happen. I'm just like, okay.
and I think that's the case with a lot of these restaurants that are over in, because I think, like Wendy's over in China or in Taiwan and stuff, they have different menu items that you wouldn't
Yeah.
find over here and stuff. So and it's interesting that you said that because I didn't, now that I know, I could kind of pick up the little island accent that you
Oh
have.
no, what's funny? I'm actually really standardizing my English right now because so then everyone can understand me. And so most people like being in the States, it's like you could hear a little something, but if I I could speak a whole lot more. Like if I get in a conversation with my father or someone that's from
Yeah.
from the Caribbean, you'll hear it come out like big time. But being in the States, it's been kind of like I'm tired of hearing, huh? What'd you say? Oh,
No,
you have an accent.
I get it. I used to do t-shirt design
Yeah.
for a guy, and he was from St. Lucia.
Oh yeah.
Man, he had a hard. I mean, just and I think they used to call it
Yeah.
patois.
That's why he speak.
And he
Yeah.
had a hard one. And I'm like, "What you saying, man?" Then when his friends would come in to kind of hang out, and they would
Yeah.
just talk and talk and talk, and I'm like, "Holy moly!" I just understand
It's fast.
half the stuff you guys are saying. It's just so fast talking. But I love the island. Like I said, I took a cruise there with my family to
That's awesome.
St. Lucia and St. Thomas, and loved it, loved it, loved it. So were you always artistically inclined as a child, or was this something that you kind of picked up as you got older?
So I could say that I was. I always really liked like color and cartoons and drawing. And I could say my furthest memory of drawing, I was 3 years old, and I can remember being through because my birthday had just passed, and I was at my grandma's church at a Bible study, or it's for kids, like like the kids church they do for children. So I
Yeah.
was in one of those, and I can't tell you what they were saying, but I was drawing in my in the margins of the Bible. I remember drawing a story. Like I remember there was a guy with a car who was like driving across the page, and then man, another guy with glasses. Like I can remember doing that. And then they kind of like went on a little adventure
Um,
across Adam and Eve's.
my mom would have backhanded me, and she tried me drawing in the Bible.
I was in the back. I was in the back of the class doing that. And yeah, so I mean like I really do remember drawing from a really young age. And then I went to a preschool that kind of encouraged that more. It was called Children's Discovery. And they kind of, it was a really arts-based school where they had you like build uh costumes and stuff. I remember it was raining one day and we built these box costumes around as like what do you call it? Um just like space aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. But I remember that school kind of encouraged it. But from an early age, I've definitely been inclined to drawing and designing. I wouldn't say designing at the time, but drawing characters just all through own pages of books and stuff.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you also animate too, outside of doing children's book illustrations. Which is there one that you prefer over the other, or do you think they both, for you, both kind of feed into each other?
So I really like movement of characters. But to be honest, I would say I prefer designing characters and drawing them in some kind of illustrative space, like looking at a page and having that page kind of tell a story with just the poses. Excuse me, I really do like that. Um, and being able to do children's books for so many different clients has really been able to kind of just kind of hone that ability a whole lot more. And it's been able to transfer into my character design a whole lot more.
Right.
So I could draw one character and just kind of tell a story with that entire character, with that one character, more so than I used to be able to. So yeah, I definitely enjoy children's books and character design, for animation or for children's books or publication.
So for children's, is your process you read the whole story, or do you read what's on the page and 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 then draw for the page, or do you read the story and kind of get a sense of what the character is and then go from there? What's your process kind of like?
So I've always found it more beneficial to read the story. I would usually I read through the entire story. I get an idea of what the flow of the story is and how, especially if it's like a very young children's book,
Mhm.
which like A is for apple or like something like that. Like you can't just draw an apple and say A.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like you got to make a story or something that's fun that kind of like flows through the entire book. And that's kind of yeah. So reading the whole story is kind of my process. I'll do that, and based on what I see, I kind of see in my brain how it's moving through. Make a maybe I'll draw a little rough figures here and there to kind of just know where things are placed, and yeah, and I'll design characters as I'm working on it, and try to make everything tie in. But I mean that's kind of my rough approach. You know, well, I do read the stories first.
gotcha, gotcha. Well, you have a very unique style. Do you think you're still obviously developing your style, or when do you think you kind of hit your point where, okay, I can kind of see I got a style here? When did you think that you kind of hit that point?
So my style, excuse me, the way I like to draw is I like to do that rough. I like really rough lines, but still controlled at the same time. And that's something that I developed actually within the past year and a half. Um, and I think it's because it's kind of how I see when I see people and I see I see characters in people and I see just figures. I like to look at the lines first before I get into the color, which is it's perfectly great. People do rough color drawings and they're beautiful,
Yeah,
but I like line work. And I would say that my style is definitely developing. It's ever developing. Um, Constantly trying to learn new techniques, learn new ways of doing things. But I would say that my base way that I like to draw. It's hard to say style because like I'll work on different things and they'll be like, I want you to draw this style or this style, and you have to adapt in every however wherever you go, whether it's crisp lines, no lines,
yeah,
sketchy lines, anything, highly realistic, very basic shapes, but at the same time, we always have this style that we like or this way of drawing that we really enjoy. But
yeah.
yeah, I think it's evolving, and I enjoy it. I enjoy drawing that way.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this sort of before the show, as far as just as a creative person, you're kind of in your own space, but yeah, you still have to kind of get outside of your space. How do you kind of uh, get yourself extroverted or outside of your space of
Space.
of just drawing? Because you know how we are. We could be in front of our computer or drawing board and just zone kind of everything else out.
So who the person that really has helped me with that a lot over I mean this past year I haven't been able to do really anything, I mean, you can go to places and I mean, you can go to like all your online events and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's like let's say pre-pandemic. I'll tell you post after, but pre-pandemic, you can tell by my hair. But I mean, the pre-pandemic,
I
we
know everybody says that, man. I got my pandemic look on. I can't get on.
we used to go like in the description you talked about earlier. We used to go to the ballet performances, go to really cool restaurants, just kind of enjoy the sights and stuff around the city.
Yeah.
Um, and that doing stuff like that really gets me out there and seeing kind of the world around me, meeting people and just enjoying time with friends and all that. That really, I mean, that really helps me get out of my little spot. Even though I'm still thinking about stuff, it gets me out of that. Post pandemic, I now have a little girl, and being able to play with my little girl and my wife at the same time, just playing and seeing her grow and learn and just kind of develop. It's like being able to just see her do that live,
Yeah.
not just going to work and then coming back and then, we're like, oh, she did this today. It's like yesterday you weren't doing this and today you're doing this, today today you can do this, yesterday you were trying to you're just
And
slapping things
yeah,
together.
that's kind of what you'll be doing tomorrow, Daddy. I want this right.
So that's the kind of stuff that kind of helps me get out of that space, and it's important
Yeah.
to really to do that. Be able to talk to friends on the phone all the time. Do things like this interview is great too.
Yeah.
And take drives around too.
Yeah.
It really, that's what helps, being able to because we need human interaction. That's
Yeah.
without a doubt. Like,
Yeah.
but I know we're doing this whole quarantine thing, which is important, but at the same time, there's got to be a way to find to interact with others,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
doing it right now, at least.
Yeah. For sure. Now,
Now,
you just said you have a new baby daughter, and I congratulated you. You told me you had her. But do you feel like, obviously, watching her grow up, that just adds another layer to your illustration, and you're, just being able to kind of see from a child's perspective for your drawings and your work?
I think so. I think it's funny because I'm kind of a super goofy person. I'm kind of like I'm serious. Like most people that work with me, I'm like I'm getting the job done. Like I'm serious when I'm working, but I'm super silly, and I do really really ridiculous things sometimes.
Which is why
But
we're long. So that's why we laugh so much. I'm telling you.
so it's like I say ridiculous things, do ridiculous things sometimes. But the thing is, like, yeah, seeing her and her growth has really helped me. Like, I don't know, even with drawing children in books, sometimes I'll actually draw her as an Easter egg in the book. Like, I'll draw an older version of her, and you can kind of see that it's her, like their face, and it's funny. Like, but at the same time, yeah, she's really helped with that a whole lot because I'm thinking about what will I show my child, as she grows, like what would I do, and I'm really learning how to help and grow her as a parent. So
Yeah.
doing children's books that match that would be great,
Yeah.
and I'll shows too. I want to do things that she can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have such a unique style. Uh, Everybody, please take a look at his work. He has such a unique, fun style to his drawing. Um, what do you think? You've been obviously doing children's books and illustrations. What do you feel like makes a great story? I mean, is it a compilation of the story, the simplicity of it, married with the artwork that you're doing, or what have you found to be the best stories that you've kind of illustrated?
Stories that have great characters. I feel like this is just me. Many people may think differently,
Yeah,
but I found that characters create story. Whether the character is human or not, whether it's it could be a shape, a
yeah,
triangle or a circle or whatever. But if you have a good character, then a story will evolve around that character. Because think of us as human beings, we if I was in this room right now, or if you weren't in that room right now, nothing's there. Is anything moving? Is anything interacting with anything? No. So you can just kind of move around the room and there's nothing. But once you add the human aspect or the figurative character aspect to it, it kind of builds that story. It builds that life, or it builds that that sequence of events that kind of encompasses one or many different characters in kind of like a lifetime,
yeah.
or some kind of narrative. I think that's really, really important. I think character-based stories are where it is, where things kind of grow from, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you ever had a, a project or a story where it was just hard to kind of it took you a while to get the character, or do you automatically kind of fall into the character and what it looks like and how it is portrayed, or have you ever had a character just like, wow, I'm having a tough time kind of getting this?
You know what? I have had some hard times of finding the character to fit a role, kind of like casting, drawing the right character, and that's kind of where the whole character design, like, process comes through, where you do tons of iterations of a character and try to find the right one to fit the role. But that being said, when it comes to envisioning a character for something, just roughly,
Yeah,
it usually comes right to me, because if I have a story, let's say I have a story about an old beatnik who lives on a farm and wants to go back into the city to explore the life he's left or something,
yeah,
like, immediately I'm thinking about all the references, all the people, all the, all all of that.
yeah,
And I can come up with a rough drawing of this guy. And it's like, okay, is that the guy? No, but now I know he's the guy, or he's a beatnik
yeah,
that lives on a farm. And see, that's how it kind of progresses for me. I see that that's how story kind of works for me. Now I have this character. His motivation is to go into the city because he's moved out for some reason. There's a whole other thing you can do there.
yeah,
And then, and he lives on a farm. What are his day-to-day tasks on the farm? What has changed about him from being in the city to the farm? And it just kind of, yeah, that's kind of how it builds for me. And because of that, I think because of the character-based storytelling, it's really helped me be able to kind of just, yeah, create a character from that, and then fine tune or change altogether. I mean, you can make it into a woman, or make it into a teenage boy who's run away, or a teenage girl who's run away. But
yeah.
I think that's a good way to make it work.
Now, do you in relation to that, do you just kind of let your mind free flow doing the drawing, or do you spend a little time pulling references, like if it's a beatnik, the style of clothes, or pulling pictures of beatnik clothing, or that type of thing, or do you just let it come out of your imagination?
I do a little of both. I like, off the bat, just off the bat, I'll do just like rough drawings of the kind of person that I want. But then, like, as I'm going, I'll be like, I need to see the real. I need to see what it really looks like. And then I'll go online and
Yeah,
do research. I'll look at Pinterest or like wherever, and I'll find people that fit that cast, or that casting call for that character,
gotcha,
and take it from there.
gotcha. Uh, Everybody, welcome again. Don Terrell here with the Color of Motion. I appreciate everybody jumping in and tuning in. Where I'm here with my good friend Robert Paul Jr., character designer and illustrator, does a lot of children's books and designs, but also is a great animator as well. Again, his work is really stylized and great, colorful, and varied too. Like I say, you have a wide range of, even though your style is unique, you have a wide range of characters that you do, but yet still fits it within your style. Um, whose work do you kind of, is there anybody that sticks out to you, or whose work you really like, that it's like, I don't really like their style?
There are so many people. Like there are so many people. Um, One of them. So well, I'll have to really think about that. There's so many. Okay, well, I can say I like Carter Goodrich a
Mm,
whole lot. I like how he uses rough lines, and just the way that he just puts his line work together and his shading together to kind of really make things just make things look really solid, even though it's just cross hatching, and it's awesome. I really like Claire Keene, who is Glenn Keane's daughter. I
yeah,
really like her work. It's beautiful. Like it's kind of that rough watercolor effect looking. This. It's kind of how I like to draw. So it's
yeah,
great to see people that have that basis of design that way too. I wonder if there's any more. I know Carter Goodrich, her, and I also like my friend Keith Knight's work. He's a cartoonist
mm,
as well, and he just started a show called well, just started, but he created a show called Woke as well.
mm,
He I like how he draws because he does really simple characters that are kind of like man they're they're very simple, very line based, really nice silhouette, and they kind of just really point home to whatever they hit home to whatever they're trying to
yeah,
convey. And I like that kind of stuff too. I like really simple designs that have a whole lot of power behind the storytelling and the line work.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. There's, like I said, and I guess that's the beauty of the internet, because you
yeah,
so much great work, and
yeah,
from the ultra complex, ultra realistic to,
yeah.
you said, just a simple line shape. I remember, oh man, he's an animator. Uh, Either his last name is Ryan or his first name. I think his last name is Ryan. But he's a famous animator, and he did a little animated short, but it was just, and he did it to music. It was a guy and a girl dancing to this song.
Oh, thought of you. I remember that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I
And
like
it's
that a lot.
so beautifully done.
Yeah,
It fits so, and it was just simple line.
yeah,
Oh man, it was just such awesome work. And then you come across, like I said, I've come across so many talented people like Joshua Leonard. He has such a
yeah. She does some
stri-
awesome work.
he has such striking lighting
Yeah,
drawings and such sharp lines. It's so different, and such
yeah,
striking work. And like I said, that's just the beauty of the internet. You see so many talented people. Miss Florence Holly, love your work. Robert,
thank you. I appreciate that. It's very
work.
nice of you.
Everybody, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We are going to dive into a lot more topics here. And the question I want to throw out to you is, your thoughts on, during this time. We're starting to see a lot more people of color and from diverse backgrounds start to really put their work out there. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. But before you dive into that answer, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. Uh, please tune in and we will hear his answer in a second. All right, everybody, we are back again. Don Terrell with the Color of Motion. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting down, chopping it up with my good friend Robert Paul Jr. With the Cat Agency. Uh, I mentioned before the commercial break there, Robert, we're starting to see a lot more diverse stories and diverse characters start to come out. Kind of, what are your thoughts of how you're seeing it going, and the type of work that's coming out, the type of people that are starting to come to the forefront now?
I think it's great. I think it's long, a million long times overdue. Um, I think it shouldn't have taken all of this horrible stuff for some people to be able to have a voice in some regard.
Yep,
I
yep. Yeah,
think that is absolutely ridiculous. But I think other than that, I think it's wonderful. I think being able to see so many, I mean, not even new, but people that are the people of color that have just been able to do lots of awesome stuff, new shows coming out,
oh, man.
um,
Yeah,
just all kinds of cool stuff that has been given a chance to succeed.
yeah,
Um, and that's the main thing that I think is really awesome.
yeah,
Uh, I do, however, believe that there are a lot more people with that are very talented that still don't have a voice. I feel like there are a lot of black characters or Latino or any kind of
yeah,
brown race,
yeah, yeah,
characters that are out there now, but we still don't have many people of color working on those characters.
yeah.
And I think I personally don't want it to be one of those things where it's for a season. We've made our money and now we're just gonna cut this off now and go back to the you
Oh,
know
doing and that was the thing. Like I said, that was
yeah.
kind of my first thought when, of course, the reason and I think we're starting to, of course, see a lot of this now is because of unfortunate, social unrest that we've had in this country,
Mhm.
the proliferation. But that was my first thought when you know all this started, coming out and happening. Of course, you saw every company under the sun putting their posts and tweet about, this and that.
All kinds of
And,
stuff.
and I will say there
Yeah.
that companies are, I think, the forward thinking ones, and I always use them as an example, like
Mhm.
Netflix. They're really forward thinking company
Yeah.
as far as
Oh yeah.
putting out a lot of diverse kind of content and things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And I had, and you're seeing companies, like I said, promote people and to this position and that position, but I don't think it's really going to uh, make a dramatic change until people really get into the higher executive levels,
True.
when
Correct.
sitting on the board and sitting in much more prominent positions to get that out there. I will say, though, I think this time is a great time for content creators, because there are so many platforms to where they don't necessarily have to wait to put
True.
to put their content out there. If they're an animator, there's YouTube. If they're an artist or a photographer, there's Instagram that will elevate and promote them to the point where other people are really starting to see their work.
That's true. That's very true. the I feel like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, um, and about a project that I'm doing, and they were saying, and now is the time. Like, there's no, like, if you have a project and you want to get that project greenlit, now is the time. Work on your work. Get your get your designs ready. Get your pitches ready. Now is the time. And that's what he was saying. It's like, we don't know. I mean, I really hope that it continues to progress the way it has, but we don't know if this is just a fad.
Yeah,
We don't know. And there have been times like this where it's been that way. I mean, in the '90s, there was a big, like, like a big surge, like, I would say resurgence, but just like a big development of, like, um, a lot of black voice actors for
yeah.
shows, and it was just like you'd have like a whatever, like a character that doesn't even look like the character's black. The voice would just be like random,
I
like,
know that,
random deep voice
that was,
black.
yeah, that was really the big thing with toys. It's like, man, all you do
Yeah,
is dip him in some brown, some brown.
exactly.
And even though I love Peanuts and I love Charles Schultz.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that was the reason I got started. But hey,
yeah, yeah.
Franklin looked like Charlie Brown. Just saying. Love,
That's the thing.
it's like, okay, I get it. But it's like now,
Yeah,
people have become more aware of, man, that don't really look like doesn't really look like us now. But I had this conversation with uh, last week's guest, Gray, and he was saying it's kind of the same thing. Don't necessarily feel like you have to wait for
oh
Pixar,
yeah,
Netflix, or somebody to come to you if you have a story that wants to, if you
exactly.
have content that's inside of you that you want to get out. Because, like I said, you got so many different platforms now, and
Mhm.
it's gotten to the point where the world is such a smaller place now. Big companies are doing the same things that everybody else is doing, scouring the internet to find content and to find content creators. So as long as you're creating content and putting your content out there, hey, somebody's going to see it, or it just may kick off itself. If you're doing
True.
an animated series and you got the wherewithal to either do it yourself or you have people that are helping you and putting it on YouTube. YouTube probably pays. You can probably make more on YouTube than you might make, on a TV show or something. There's a lot of YouTubers that are making way more than what they would probably get if they were on network TV. So,
Yeah.
it's just put your content out there. You have the opportunity to get your content out there for sure. Um, where do you kind of see yourself going? I mean, right now you're doing children's books, you do a little animation. What is your kind of vision for where you want to go?
So, I have a company called Steadfast Entertainment, and that's kind of where all my contract work, my freelance work, all that stuff kind of just goes through. Um, I'd like to create content for children, to young adults. Just, I mean, I would kind of, base it for children, but like any good show or any entertaining show, an adult can watch it too, and have a good time watching it.
Yeah,
Um, I'd like to do that. I'd like to create content, create TV shows, create characters, and work with other studios, and kind of get those IPs created into shows, and all kinds of things, toys, whatever that is.
yeah,
So yeah, I really want to be in the business of creating uh, shows and content, which I know I started to do. I do that, but I want it to be kind of the main thing for me.
yeah,
Um, and Yeah, I think that'd be pretty awesome,
yeah,
and kind of in the next 10 years kind of thing to have made a few shows, and children's books too. I'd like to put out more books, some of my very own books, and I have some ideas for that. But yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
You obviously, do you do writing as well, or do you, you know, stick more on the drawing side? Like you say you want to put out your children's books. Are you writing them yourself, or are you working with a writer to write it?
So I work with a writer, but I also work on the writing myself. So I'm working on it with somebody who's helping me write. I would say mostly for like a show or a project or something, like a show, those kind of projects. But I would say for a children's book, I'd probably do that myself. Um, or I could also have a friend or anything like that. Um, work and help me do that. But yeah, I do like to write. I would say that. Um, but the kind of writing, it depends on the kind of writing is the thing. I
Yeah,
like writing fun uh fun stuff that's what's a good way to say this. I like magical realism a whole lot,
yeah,
and you know you don't see a lot of black representation or people of color, period, really, in a lot of magical realism. I mean, we got recently we got Jingle Jangle, like that came out, and that was something that you don't really see. You get one every like 10 years maybe, or 20 years. But I think
yeah.
I think more of that would be great,
They put it go out, and that's like I said, that which is
Yeah,
the really good reasons I love doing this show is because I do get to connect with so many different talented uh,
yeah,
artists, designers, and even production people in a space where I'm not necessarily, that's not my wheelhouse, but they're in production and they know the inner workings of putting a production together, really connecting with them so that we are at maybe sometime in the future able to come together, and build these and create these intellectual properties. Like I said, I I use Tyler Perry as a good example. He's
mhm,
really positioned himself to create the type of media and content that he wants and create and control it. And I would love to do that on an animated motion level, motion graphics level. You do a lot and you said you like doing children's uh type of animation and drawings. And this was the one thing I kind of thought about myself, because my range, like I said, I'm you know I like them on real both extremes of animation, the super children's type of animation, but I also love anime and the real cerebral type of deep, you
yeah.
know, more adult animation that you would kind of tend to see, even though the work is. Do you prefer to stay on the children's side, or do you like, say, like, Akira, or like the real deep type of animation that you may see coming out of, say, Japan or manga?
So I I like to stay on the children's side, but there's a nice thing about children's content that can be not transformed, but can really appeal to adults. Like
Yeah,
I think Pixar does that really well. It was an example that does it really well. But to answer the question, some of those more I do like some of those more adult type things. I would say one thing that I do one anime in particular I did like was I haven't watched it in a while, but I liked Cowboy Bebop a whole lot.
mm,
But I would say that nowadays the way I kind of go is like, because especially, I mean, I would say you look what's going on right now and how people are
yeah,
all together in their household. I kind of like it when something has underlying themes that an adult could learn from, but is for children technically.
yeah,
I really like that because I feel like there's such a deep, how to say this? It's almost like it's a deep, like the deep skin of an onion
Yeah.
where you can peel one layer that's like, oh, this is the thing that the kid could understand, and the deeper you go into it, it's
Yeah.
like wow, like Rugrats, for instance. Man, there was some stuff that was said in Rugrats, and when I was a kid, I was like, what does that even mean? And like as an adult, I look back at the show and I'm like, what? Like you can't say that on TV. Like what? For children? But no one understood it because of the way that it was said.
Yeah.
And but adults could relate to it,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of stuff I like. I like things that have that kind of wholeness to it and very deep. There's a deep storytelling effect that I like.
Yeah. It is. And like you said, I think Pixar has gotten the formula down
Yeah.
at really well. Which does bring me to, have you seen Soul? And
Yes.
what was your thought
Yes.
on that? I was actually going to do a review on it. Um, and I'd be curious to see what your thoughts. I got my, I got my opinion about it, but I'd like to hear what yours is.
I think Soul is the first of its kind. I think I think it's I don't know. I think the storytelling was fantastic. I think personally, I think the story was um was real. It was a middle aged black man music teacher who just is. I don't want to give up the whole story, but I think
Yeah,
a music teacher goes on this whole adventure, and it's just like it's just awesome. I feel like the just the fact that it's a real story and the way that it's told can really happen. I mean, not to say like this particular way of events is how it really happens, but this can happen to someone, like they have, people have dreams, people want to do things, with their life. And it's and to be able to see that someone is, it looks like he's maybe in his 40s or something, 45 maybe. He's in his 40s moving forward. It's important to see that just because you're in one particular you're in one particular niche or whatever you're doing at a certain age doesn't mean that you don't keep trying and you don't keep pushing forward to make your actual dream a
yeah,
reality, or that kind of thing. I feel that it's nice that they told a story about a man in his mid 40s, and kind
yeah,
of seeing how that whole thing um comes to fruition, if you may, however it does come to fruition.
yeah.
And I do think that's good. I really do like stories like that. uh
No, I
let's
generally,
talk about the underrepresented.
yeah, no, I like I said, it was a big step forward, obviously,
Hmm.
and I gave it an A minus
Yeah,
for a couple of things that prevented me from giving it an A plus. It was a great
there's some of
story.
that. Yeah.
It was great, and the
Yeah.
animation was great, and obviously, as I watched it, uh, to their credit, they, like I said, they had people of color that were writers and animators and things like that, and so there were really certain scenes that, okay,
Yeah.
I get it, you know, and I won't give too much away either, people, but there was a barbershop, scene, and
Yeah.
I just a staple of the
That
black.
was it.
But like I said, because my cousin was a barber, and I would go to the barber shop to get my hair cut, and it was just that type of environment and
Yeah.
type of conversation and that. So, like I said, it resonated with me.
Yeah.
The only few things that really I think they fell a little short on for me, and this is just me personally, people. I mean, like I said, and this doesn't, like I said, take away from the fact that I enjoyed it. It was a great animation, and I think Pixar knocked it out the park. But I still think they got a little growing to do in
Yeah.
certain areas. I felt They really didn't need to turn him into a little blue character to get him through his story arc.
Yeah.
Um, I think they could have kept him who he was, and he still could have went through his transformation of, like I said, being this type of person who felt like he was tied to this
Hmm.
one lot in life, and still, feel like he made a difference in somebody else's life. That, and then the only other thing was, and again, no knock on Pete Docter. He's a great director. I love Monsters Inc. He's awesome. But I felt like they could have had a black director
Hmm.
opposed to a co-director. It was something that I don't think they've done on any of their other films. So for me, it felt like it was kind of a bolted on attempt
Yeah. Yeah.
with the times that were happening. Well, we feel like, okay, all this, we're doing a black film with black characters. It would just seem really odd if we had just one white director doing it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a
I can understand. I can understand where you're coming from with that for real. Yeah.
as opposed, and like I said, for me, it just came across as like, okay, we need to get a co-director because of all
Hmm.
the, because we're gonna get further if we put this out, and we don't bring in, black talent to do this.
Hmm.
Which I think they could have just let a black director. There are too many black directors and storytellers out there that could have handled it and done it. And we've seen it with, obviously, with Black Panther. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's that's and that's still shattering everything that they're putting out. So
That's the thing.
it's possible to have a black director or somebody that's helming it that can really bring in his talent. And to the co-director's credit, he did bring in, help to
Oh
bring
yeah.
in
He
like
did.
black writers, and you could obviously tell that through the story. You could obviously tell that there were people of diverse backgrounds really putting the story forward and putting things in behind the story. Those were really the only two things that I felt like they fell a little short on, as opposed to like, and it gave the impression to me like, okay, we got to oversee this, as opposed to
Gotcha.
being somebody, a black director. Hey, this is run with this story. It's a Pixar story. The framework of what Pixar does.
Hmm.
Run with it. You know, and tell it. But like I said, it was a great. The animation was great. The music was great. Uh, it was a great story. And like like so many other companies out there, they've still got a lot, to
Yeah. That's a whole lot. It's
long.
totally, yeah.
And it was funny because I'm actually working to bring him on as a guest. He's VP of diversity for Disney, and we were kind of talking about the same thing. Disney is just, of course, Pixar is owned by Disney, but Disney is such a behemoth, and they've done things for so long in such a way that it's going to.
Yeah.
I told him, I say, I liken them to the Titanic. They're a big ship that's going to be slow to turn. You know,
Hmm.
they can't make a sharp turn like, say, Netflix can, or a company like Pixar can. So hopefully more of these companies will start to really uh, see the benefit of not only putting out content, and bringing in black animators or Latino animators, or this and that, but letting people of color tell their own story and put their, and just back it. Just, it's a Pixar movie. Um, Everybody knows everybody's framework. Disney has a framework of the style of animations they do. Um, Pixar has their own style, but let them helm it. And that's just my opinion, people. Like I said, and that's not knocking. Yeah, he hates soul. No, I don't hate soul. I don't think Pixar has done well. Really, the only Pixar movie that I really didn't particularly like, even though I have it, is Wally. That was a
Oh, really?
different kind of. It was a different kind of movie, and but what I love about Pixar is that they really push the boundaries of each story that they do in
Yeah.
form or fashion. They're trying to push something. So, like I said, I think this, like your friend was saying, now is such a great time for people of color to get their content out and really step out into the forefront of that. Uh, if what's the best advice somebody's ever given you?
Wow. that's that's such a like. What's the best advice anybody's ever given me?
The one
Wow.
I'm sure there's a lot, but one
There's a
thing,
lot. Yeah.
something that you kind of come back to or sticks in your head that somebody's ever given you in the industry or profession.
I've been told this various times throughout, um, just throughout working. Um, I've even been told this, by my pastor even. But one thing is to do something the best you possibly can, work the best you possibly can, and just make sure that you're creating something to make something great, to make something awesome, to satisfy yourself, to satisfy your soul. And when you make that awesome thing, it will other people will resonate with it, and they will also be affected by it in a similar way, or a way that well, now I'm kind of just putting my own spin on it, but a similar way, or a way that you were affected by it. And this is what makes things sell, um, in a wholesome, very rooted way, versus trying to sell something and then have it appeal. Um, I think that's people do that too. They say, I make this thing and this is why you should buy it. I mean, Apple does it all the time.
Yeah,
But what I think that's one of the piece of advice I ever got that was fantastic over the years, and I've kind of worked that way. And by working that way, um, you know, and just I mean, different people act different ways, obviously, but as being a Christian, a lot of the things I do, I want to make sure that I feel like I'm like I'm pleasing God with what I'm doing,
yeah, yeah,
and I just believe that if I do something, I mean, I've seen the results over and over again. If I do something the best I possibly can and work as hard as I can doing the work that I'm doing, I can make sure I can know that I'm confident that something will happen with it. Something good will happen. And every time I have that confidence about it, something good happens. Some call comes in, oh, project this. What? You're offering this for this project? That's awesome. And I just would do a drawing, just a drawing that I really felt passionate about, that was what I thought that was what at the moment what I had in my heart to come out, created something. I mean, one time I drew something, I put it on LinkedIn, and someone said it made their whole day. They were having a rough day, and they
yeah,
saw that drawing, and it changed their whole day, and it gave them a smile. I was just like, okay, I'm done.
yeah.
I'm done. That's great.
And I think that's what every creative person um, really truly wants and
Yeah.
feel. I mean, we all do the art because it's something that we enjoy and that we like, but how much better it makes us feel when somebody outside of us gets touched in a certain way, whether it makes them feel like it made their day, or whether it was a powerful piece that made them, because you're starting to see, I've seen a lot of pieces ever since the unrest in thing in Washington. A
Hmm.
lot of artists have been drawing a lot of different artworks that reflect that, whether it's
Hmm.
something that makes them somebody else think about something differently. I think every artist wants to feel like their art affects people
Oh
outside
yeah.
themselves in whatever way they intend for it to do.
Hmm.
For
That's
sure.
right. I mean, that's
And
true.
we've had such a great conversation, man. We've rolled into this. Been happening the last 2 or 3 shows because really guests have been really clicking and going. We rolled into an hour, over an hour.
Jeez. I didn't even notice that until now. I looked up and I looked up when it was like 24 minutes, and I was just like, what?
We have rolled into an hour, and that shows how much fun I'm having and my guests are having on the show. Because, like I said, I tend to try and keep it to 45 minutes, but the last 3 or 4 shows have rolled past an hour for sure. So we've had such a great time. Really talking with my good friend Robert Paul Jr. I always love connecting with him. I know at some point down the line or in the future, we're going to do some work together, brother. I know for sure.
Oh yeah.
People, make sure that you check out his work. I'm going to throw this back up again because people need to really get a feel for the style of work that he does such awesome illustration work in a lot of different ways that make you think a lot of. I really loved the barber scene that I used for your uh, show ad. It was, like I said, it really resonated with me. People, if you want to connect with Robert or check out more of his work, you can check out his uh, website. Man, my computer is just really junky today. Steadfast.tv. Check out some of his work and a little more about him for sure. He's very active on LinkedIn. You can check him out and connect with him on his LinkedIn page, R. Paul Jr. Check out even more of his work on his Instagram page for sure, Robert Paul Jr. Better yet, make sure you support him and help him to continue to do what he does on his Patreon page. Uh, Definitely looking forward to, like I said, one, having you back on the show again in the near future.
That'd be
And
awesome.
really connecting. Like I said, I always have a great time connecting with you. And hopefully, once the pandemic really kind of lifts up a little there, we can really get together and kind of
Yeah.
hang out for sure, like we've done before. Just to throw a little comments up here. Let me. I'll be so glad when I can get this really automated and just push buttons instead of clicking. Trust me. Uh, Miss Elizabeth Lyons, like Avatar and Last Airbender. Yeah, really kind of cerebral. Like I said, I love Hayao Miyazaki's work is phenomenal and really, like I said, really a cerebral type of. Most anime stuff is, if you watch, especially if you watch it in a native type of translation, is really cerebral, and they talk about really deep issues, but the animation is so beautiful and so well done, which is why, like I said, Akira. I had to watch that 2 or 3 times before it really sunk in for sure. So if you love it, I really, like I said, I love children's style, but I also love really cerebral adult animation. So trying to find that balance of what you like. Miss Latonia, I appreciate you tuning in for sure. I'm glad you liked the interview. Again, everybody, please make sure that you hop over to my YouTube page and subscribe. That way you can check out some of the other past shows and make sure that you click the notification bell of when I go live if you're not checking it out on my LinkedIn or YouTube page. or Facebook page, but I will be creating content that I will probably only be broadcasting on my YouTube page. So being connected there will definitely get you notifications. I plan on doing some kind of, like I said, tutorials, maybe even having Robert come back and do a little drawing session.
That,
Uh,
that would be fun. That'd be cool. That'd be
uh,
really fun.
Actually, the guest before last week, Michael Clancy, wants to come. I told him I might have him come back on and do a ZBrush. He's a killer ZBrush artist.
Oh, nice.
Come back on to the show and do a ZBrush tutorial or a little ZBrush session there. So definitely something that you need to get connected with me on my LinkedIn page for sure. Let me throw down contact. You can contact me uh, at don.terrell at dggraphics.com. Or again, like I said, connect with me on my LinkedIn, Facebook, and I definitely want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me at all of those at Don Terrell for sure. And this has been the best, Robert. And like I said, I always enjoy jumping on a call with you. And like I said, just we both have the same kind of funny frame of mind. We're always laughing and having a good time. So I can always see why this goes over uh, an hour for sure. So, yeah, make sure you connect with Robert uh, on any of his pages, and I'll be putting all his links and everything in the YouTube notes. So if you didn't catch him here, make sure you go to my YouTube page once I post it into the playlist. I'll have it all in the description where you can contact and connect with them for sure. Robert, if you could just hang on, I'm going to throw you backstage. If you could kind of hang around for a few minutes until I close up, I'd like to, just kind of holler at you before you jump
Sounds
on
good.
the call, if that's cool with you. Uh, so let me review. Everybody, this has been a great show again. And like I said, I've only got more planned for the rest of this year. So please make sure that you connect with me on any one of those pages. Specifically, again, my YouTube page, because like I said, I'm going to be putting just YouTube content on there, and I definitely want you to be able to check out a lot of that as well. So connect with me on all of those. I look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Next week, I have another phenomenal artist coming on. Uh, Joshua Upshaw does some serious drawing, and he's got some serious mad skills with Floyd, character designer as well, with Floyd County Productions out of Atlanta. And if any of you are familiar with Archer, the animated series I think they were on Fox. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure if they were on Fox or not, but Archer, that's the company behind that animated series as well. So definitely make sure that you tune in next week. It's going to be another great show for sure. And I'm so excited to have Joshua on here. It's going to be a great conversation. Mr. Dewan, appreciate you tuning in. Yes, Robert is a great artist for sure, and I'm excited to see what 2021 is going to be bringing him this year. So excited. All right, appreciate you subscribing there, Mr. Dewan. I appreciate that. Also, make sure that you share this broadcast with your tribe so that they could be informed as well. So, with that, it's been, like I said, the best show. I had a great time. Look forward to seeing everybody back here, same channel. Let me get my thing right here. Back here, same bat time, bat channel as it's said. on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Everybody have a great rest of the day and have a great weekend. Again, I will see you next week.